We'll just wait for him to get in voice chat, then he can pick the tier. What's going on, Classic? How we doing, man?
Hey.
If you don't mind, before we get started, I want to go over this recent dev blog that was released yesterday. Let me get into this here. And your input is absolutely welcome here.
I don't have much, so you just go for it.
Okay, no problem. No problem. I did have a chance to read quite a bit of it yesterday, and a couple things that are sticking me out here. Basically, for those of you who are not aware, yesterday they announced on their Twitch live stream, then a few hours later released a dev bot stating that they're releasing a new European destroyers split, which I think is going to be fantastic. I always enjoy new ships coming to the game. I think this is a good thing. I think it's healthy. Now, again, before we even start here, please note all information and development blob is preliminary. Announced adjustments and features may change multiple times during testing. The final information will be published on our game's website. These are still a ways out. They're still in the modeling phase. As you can see, there is very little details on these ships physically right now, and that's okay. They're still just physically building these ships. Now, they do have an overall design concept as what they want them to be, but here's the general shape of them. Now, as you can notice here, the tier 8s, it goes from tier 8 to tier 10. They don't have the tier 9 even this far in the modeling stages yet. That's why it's not a picture. But this is a general concept of what they're going to look like. Now, let's read right from the dev blog itself. A second branch of European destroyers will be added to the game in one of the future updates. We're ready to share the first details. The new ships of the branch will represent such countries as Turkey, Norway, Greece. So we'll have now 2 Greece ships in the game, Yugoslavia and Poland, former Yugoslavia. Please note that the branch is currently under development, so the ship models are not finalized, and the game concepts of the branch may change during testing. Keep that in mind. That is incredibly important. Which is planned to be released in the first half of 2023, which is really exciting. So they're kind of pushing this thing along as about as fast as they can push it. Always on schedule here to bring out new content, which I think is really cool. In the current concept, these newcomers are gunboats. So the European line currently is a torpedo line specifically. Yeah, the guns are usable. Hands down, one of my favorite European destroyers in this game right now is the Visby, the tier 5 Visby. Love that ship. However, these are going to be a little bit more gunboat based, which I think is kind of cool. Destroyers equipped with smoke generator and starting at tier 8 surveillance radar consumable. Now, I'm a little confused here. And again, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of trialing and testing and whatnot. If they're planning on giving the options of switching from smoke to radar, or if it's going to be a smoke radar combo, which I think would be pretty broken. But again, we just don't know a whole lot about this and how they want to kind of implement these things. Apart from that, the ships in the branch are equipped with engine boost. The main battery guns of the new European destroyers have good damage per salvo, and starting from tier 7 on up, flat ballistic shells. I like accurate guns. I like being able to land shots at range, which allow for comfortable gameplay at long ranges. The torpedoes used by all ships of the branch have high speed, but they're a small number per salvo. Unlike the first branch of the European destroyers, they have high damage but low range. So I'm under the impression these are kind of going to be like ambushy style, very similar maybe to like the Italian DDs, with a caveat. And we'll go over my opinions on the ship here in a little bit. The torpedoes can be set to fan out in standard wide and narrow spread. So unlike the current European style destroyers that have the narrow spread, as well as like the Vleos, where it can go like a medium to a very narrow spread, these are going to have more of a standardized what we're commonly used to with like the American line, pretty much any other torpedo boat line or torpedo boat in the game up until they came out with the European line. Starting from tier 7, these destroyers have good speed, and starting from tier 8, they have a large hit pool. However, they do not have the strongest AA, and the concealment is mediocre. So here's where I think they're going to go on the line. And again, Classic, I'm interested to hearing your input. I don't know if they're trying to go with a semi version of the current Ragnar, meaning having creeping smoke with a radar combination, maybe like 7.5 kilometer concealment with a 7.5 kilometer radar that runs for like 23 seconds stock or something. That would be an option. I think that would be almost too strong, but again, we don't have any of the details here. Now, my other theory with this line and how they're going to kind of like make it is possibly having the choice, as I stated before, between smoke and or radar, which I think would be a little bit more fair. That's very similar, like the Pan Asian destroyer line, like with the Chungmu, the Yolang, the tier 8 version of that ship. There's a couple different ways that it would go in here. Now, as we read in the last line here, they're planning on having a large HP pool, and they're better suited at range. High damage but low range. The tutorials for this while the start of it, just good speed, also good speed. So I think, in theory, I think they're going with something on par with a Ragnar. How you would play it, like at medium range, kind of throttle juke. I don't see anything in here that states that they're planning on giving them a heal. So they could be very similar to like a Kaba. I don't know. What's your take on it? What do you think?
Well, it's, like I said, it's a bit early and there's a lot of missing information.
Sure.
Looking at the ships themselves, I was a little bit confused because, well, actually reading through the origins of these ships, most of them are British designed and British built. A couple
Correct.
of the tier 9 and tier 10 are kind of French inspired, but Wargaming hasn't said anything really about how that aligns with the function of the ship. It looks to me like it's going to be somewhat along the lines of the the current pan-European line in gun type or gun arrangement. So looking at the pictures, it looks like a low number of guns, but probably be fairly fast firing. What they don't say is what the size of them will be, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true too.
The Ragnar has large, heavy hitting guns, large HP pool, has a heal. So what's the on the top end of the Gdansk and the tier 8 split? What are the size of the guns? It looks like it says 140 millimeter hood secondary guns on the tier 9.
Yes, that's what I'm reading right now. Hood secondary is 140 mil. Well, they're going to pack quite a bit of punch then.
They'll pack a bit of punch, and so they have limited torpedo number and range. They're fast torpedoes, so it looks like they're mixing and matching. It looks like another one of those. Let's go to the parts bin, see what's left over, throw it in there. Yeah. So it's got
I think that's a great analogy there. And as you can see right here, Classic just mentioned that the tier 10 version of it has a Mogador hull, so this thing's going to be pretty speedy. But you're right. These are British origin. So again, we don't know a whole lot about them. Is the AG going to have 1/4 pen like the British are? Obviously, they stated that they want the gun velocities kind of higher, like a flatter trajectory, which I think is going to be a pretty good thing. I think this is going to be playing very similar to like a Kaba. But again, we don't know the AP penetration values. We don't have a whole lot of information. All we know is they're designing a new line. This is kind of where they want to go with it. And, Classic nailed it, man. They're just taking bits and pieces off of different lines that I kind of like. The smoke from the Italian line, the guns, the French hull design. I don't even know what you would compare the guns to. I wouldn't really compare it to a Ragnar, but maybe if they're going with like a French gun,
Ragnar, like probably something in between a Ragnar and a small and Ostergotland. You know, the tier, what is it? The tier 8-ish almost looks like, from the description, like an Ostergotland with shorter range torps.
Yeah.
And possibly bigger guns, right?
Yeah.
So how fast are they going to be? They're saying that they're a bit faster. So, you know, a lot of the without speed boost, these all have speed boost, but they don't say what type.
Right. We don't know the duration of it, how long it's going to last, if it's going to be a short burst. Like, we don't know. We just don't know
but
yet.
They do say overall the ship speed is going to be faster than the Pan-European. So that I like. Will it be as fast as the French? I doubt it.
Right. Give me a second, chat. I'll get caught up with you guys in just a second. I'm just going over some details. I will be making a YouTube video out of this, so get over there and check out my YouTube. Sub to me over there if you want to get a good rundown on like our take and what we think of these things are going to be. It says right here this is actually something to really take note of here. The tier 8 split. The project was created by the French companies based in Le Fantasque. So this is going to have a Le Fantasque hull. These things are going to be pretty speedy. When Yugoslavia entered the war in 1941, the unfinished ship was seized by the Italians. Work on the destroyer finished and was put into service in 1958, according to modern designs, with the help of the United States and Great Britain. The ship served until 1980. So this is good. I mean, a lot of these aren't paper ships. I mean, these are all ships that, for the most part, serve. They all have dates on them. I think is pretty good. I mean, I don't really have a problem with some of the paper ships in the game, but I think it's always great to kind of go back to what, you know, essentially this game is modeled after. You know, actual ships that served, and I think they deserve the recognition that they deserve. So this is pretty cool. A lot of these are coming out. Great Britain, 1939. The Tier 6 was introduced in 1943. The Tier 7 came out May 4th, 1940. I mean, this is great. I'm glad that they kind of went and took these things from actual historical references, which I think is fantastic. But it'll be interesting as to how this line plans out. Now, keep in mind, guys, this line is in the very, very, very early stages of development. They don't even have the ships built yet, so to speak. So you're gonna see a lot of testing back and forth, and they'll have it dialed into where they want it by the time this line's released. But I'm pretty excited about it. I love the current European line. I think it's very strong, and I like that the fact that they're splitting it at tier 5, not at tier 8. So we got a pretty wide variety here of ships that have some pretty significant historical value that should be really fun to play. And I'm absolutely excited about that. But that's my take on it, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of these ships, where you think the line might head, your take on it, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Till the next one, we'll see you on the next video. All right.